Hello, I'm Kaiser, and welcome to Moose Reads. Before I get started, I want to say that the opinions that I give here are my own opinions. They are extremely subjective. If I dislike a book, it is not a reflection on the author, and it is not a reflection on people who do like it. Different people have different tastes, and that's okay. Today, I will be reviewing Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. It is a queer contemporary romance. The description says, when his mother became president, Alex Claremont Diaz was promptly cast as the American equivalent of a young royal. Handsome, charismatic, genius, his image is pure millennial marketing gold for the White House. There's only one problem. Alex has a beef with the actual Prince Henry across the pond, and when the tabloids get hold of a photo involving an Alex-Henry altercation, U.S.-Britain relations take a turn for the worse. Heads of family, state, and other handlers devise a plan for damage control, staging a truce between the two rivals. What at first begins as a fake, Instagrammable friendship grows deeper and more dangerous than either Alex or Henry could have imagined. Soon, Alex finds himself hurtling into a secret romance with a surprisingly unstuffy Henry that could derail the campaign and upend two nations, and begs the question, can love save the world after all? Where do we find the courage and the power to be the people we are meant to be, and how can we learn to let our true colors shine through? Casey McQuiston's Red, White, and Royal Blue proves true love isn't always diplomatic. I'd heard a lot of good things about this one, so it was on my radar, but I kept passing it up for some reason. But my brother and I watched the movie, and then he saw that it was on Kindle Unlimited. He has a subscription, so he downloaded and read it. So I figured I'd read it when he was done. Took me a while, but I got there eventually. I was pretty neutral towards this book. I gave it 3 stars. I'm kind of surprised by this. It ticked a lot of boxes that usually make me really enjoy a book, but it just didn't quite land for me. I have a few ideas why this is, and they're all things that are very subjective. I expect a lot of people wouldn't be bothered by them at all. There were quite a few positives for this, so I'll go over those first. I really liked the banter between the two male leads. It was fun and believable. I loved the love letters they sent to each other in the form of emails. They were very well written and very convincing. Also, this is one of the few romances I've read with a very strong supporting cast. Alex has a sister, a best friend, and loving parents who had varying degrees of importance. Henry, likewise, had a sister and a best friend that he could depend on, though since this is entirely from Alex's perspective, we get less of them. I don't really know what else to say about these things. They were done well, I enjoyed them. I wish I knew how to better talk about things I like. But of course, it's easier to talk about things I don't like, and there were a few of those too. None of these are a question of bad writing or bad plotting, though. As I said before, these problems are extremely subjective. They made the book land a bit flat for me, personally, but they by no means make this a bad book. So first, I couldn't really relate to the characters. Both Alex and Henry are famous and driven men working to change the world. I'm all for changing the world for the better, but I am absolutely not driven, and I am definitely not famous. The pressures they have to contend with are completely alien to me. They do both have a degree of struggling to meet what's expected of them, which is something I can relate to some degree. Unfortunately, Alex's expectations are almost entirely self-imposed, which made him less relatable for me. And Henry isn't our main point of view character, so we only experience his struggle at a distance. Second, there were like 2.5 third act twists. I'll get more into this in the spoilers, but right now it's enough to know that there were that many. The third act twist is a staple of the romance genre. It doesn't happen in every romance necessarily, but it happens in most that I've read. If you're not familiar, it's a point late in the plot where the couple is more or less together, but a misunderstanding or upheaval works to separate them. What causes the third act twist and how it is resolved can make or break a romance novel. You might be able to get away with more than one, but really you shouldn't. There are other issues related to this, but again, spoilers. And then third was that I didn't feel the couple was that much of a partnership. I've learned recently that this is a very important part of the romance for me. If the partnership isn't strong, I'm not going to like it as much. And certainly other people might disagree. There are, again, details here, but I think a large part of the problem is that they spend the book living in different countries, so it's difficult to make them feel like solid partners when they have to work so hard just to see each other. Okay, that's really all I can say without specifics. Here begins spoilers. If you don't want spoilers, click away. So, the third act twists. The first comes in the form of Henry freaking out. Alex has spent the book thinking they're just hooking up for fun, but he finally realizes that he's caught feelings, or really had feelings the entire time. He attempts to tell Henry that he loves him, but Henry never expected him to reciprocate his feelings, and knowing he can't really have a relationship, panics and runs. He flees back to England and cuts off all communication. Alex resolves this by flying to England and forcing him to have a conversation. Great. Perfectly serviceable third act twist. Then we get our half twist, which completely undermines the next twist. The boys have gotten together, they're happy, they have a plan to ease themselves out of the closet once the election is over. But someone leaks a video of Alex and Henry heading up to a hotel room looking rather friendly, and it causes a scandal. They resolve this by pretending that Harry is dating Alex's sister and that Alex is dating his best friend. It's fine, they both agree to it, but Alex says it makes him feel distanced from Henry. But the final third act twist comes when we've only just resolved the half twist, and it's just the same thing again, but bigger. Their emails are hacked, and they, along with a picture of them kissing, are leaked to the press. There's no sweeping this under the rug, but while the Queen decides what to do, Henry is on complete lockdown. This means that once again he's gone radio silent, and once again it is resolved by Alex flying to England to fix things. Like I said, the biggest problem with the third act twists is that there are too many of them, and the middle one undermines the last one. Honestly, it probably would have been fine with just the first and last, but I felt it was a bit too much as written. But even then, the resolution to the first and last twist tie into my issues with the partnership. So if you haven't read it, the romance between Alex and Henry starts off with Henry kissing Alex at a New Year's party, and then running home to England and cutting off contact. That time, Alex doesn't fly to England to fix it, he just corners Henry at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. But he does still do the work, and that's one of the issues I have. 3 times there's a problem between them, and every time Henry goes no contact, and Alex has to fix it. The third time isn't Henry's fault, but the complaint still stands. Alex has to deal with everything that is happening alone, and I mean that in the context of their relationship because his family is there for him. But in a romance, I want the couple to work together, and here, in his moment of crisis, once more, Henry isn't there for him. But Henry's kind of in good company this time, because even after Alex flies to England to be with Henry, he doesn't really do anything. They're together, and there's no denying that there's comfort in having your love close in a crisis. But the morning after Alex arrives, Henry's brother Philip shows up to breakfast to berate Henry. He's super homophobic and tells Henry that he needs to suck it up and stop disgracing the family with his selfishness, marry a nice girl, and continue the family line. And despite the fact that Alex is sitting right there while this conversation is happening, he doesn't make the slightest attempt to push back on Philip. Or rather, he waits until Henry has stood up for himself, and then makes a snappy comment to Philip. And I get that it's good to let people handle their own fights, but it really felt like Alex should have said something. And we follow this up with a conversation with the Queen in which she very nearly orders Henry back into the closet, and Alex once again sits there saying nothing. His only comment is to say they could still have kids when the Queen says Henry is required to produce heirs. And this isn't a matter of standing up for Henry, just a statement of fact. I get that it's a little difficult arguing with a queen, but it just felt like a parade of passively letting Henry get abused without doing anything to stand up for him. And that, combined with the fact that they aren't together at all for large portions of this book, just made it feel less like a partnership to me. Others might not see it as a problem, but that's how I felt. And I think that played a large part in making me less enthusiastic about this book. Like I said, these are very subjective complaints and by no means make this a bad book. It just wasn't a book that I personally loved. I would still probably recommend it to anyone who enjoys queer romance, though. Anyway, if you liked this video, I hope you'll check out more in the future. Thanks for watching this one. Bye!